right, Sikes, Howe.
Yo, yo, yo.
Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me, my friend.
Yeah. You were like the person I wanted the most. I feel like when I
Wow.
started this thing, I'm like, who are the people that I can actually learn from that are doing this, that have been doing it for 10 years, have already made all the mistakes, so I can avoid.
Oh, yeah. Well, the biggest mistake that you made was starting it to begin with. So
Right.
you're
So I'm in.
you're screwed, my friend.
So you have Start the Beat podcast,
Correct.
and why did you start it to begin with? And how did it transform, and kind of what is the story of the podcast?
Well, it was one of those situations where I had tried to do some podcasts with like other friends at the time, just like about random shit, really, just like homies hanging out, talking. There was no real vibe or theme. I liked the idea of doing it, but it never materialized when I was doing it with other people. And then I fell into this weird situation where I wasn't playing in any bands for a short time. My solo music was kind of like I wasn't doing anything at all. And I was just feeling like crazy. Like I needed to do something creative.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I have like everything to do this. I got the recording stuff. So I just started like talking to my friends about like, why are we still doing this? You know what I mean? It was like in my mid 20s, that like mid 20s crisis of like, is this really going to be my career? Am I going to be a musician or not? I don't know. Just feeling all like lost and shit. So that was where I started talking to people just about like, why are we still doing this? And now, like, I'm still kind of doing that, but with a little bit more insight, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. You have found your niche as the music guy. Like the Pittsburgh is like rock, basically, right? Like you're interviewing all the metal and rock and alternative
Not
rock and emo
exclusively.
people.
Not exclusively. There's a lot of like folk, country, R&B, indie adjacent, like pretty much anybody that makes music in the city. I've really tried to expand as much as I can. It started out with all the rock and roll guys and the hip hop guys because that's the circle that I was in the most.
Yeah.
But I met so many people from doing the show. 'Cause, I mean, you start doing it, people start sharing it, and then strangers start hitting you up wanting to come on the show. So it's like, sure, I'll talk to you. Why not?
And
Met
you
a lot of really cool people.
For sure. And you've moved it into like a studio now. So you have
Oh
to
yeah.
actually pay in order to like do the show.
Oh,
Or
for sure, for sure.
does it offset with
Every
like
episode has a dollar
ads or
amount.
anything?
Definitely, definitely. Now, yeah.
So how does it work? Like you're getting gigs from it and so it makes it worthwhile, or you're getting like some sponsorship or ads, or
Oh,
how
it's
does
a
it work?
passion project. Totally, totally. At this point, I've really not made any money off of the podcast at all, but that's okay. I mean, I'm very well understanding the fact that like there is a ceiling. If I'm going to be talking about independent musicians, the amount of people that want to listen to that type of conversation, even with popular people, is small. Most people just want to hear the music. They're not really interested in the creative process.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just like something that I really like doing. And also I wanted to do it on like a professional level. So it was like I'm going to move this into a studio space and that studio space also doubles as storage for things that I don't want in my house.
Fair.
So it's
Fair.
kind of like a storage unit slash podcast space.
Nice.
It looks cool on one side of the room and the other side of the room looks like garbage, but nobody sees that. It's not on camera.
So other people also record there, but you keep your stuff there?
No, I'm the only person. It's my space.
Oh, this is interesting. So, but you're renting it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I think
It
I understand.
it's like the equivalent, like, okay, like, I legitimately have, like, just stuff in there that is, like, storage. So it is like I essentially treat it as a storage unit slash studio space.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Huh.
And I mean, it's not cheap, but, like, I make okay money. I can afford it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. You have like a JO, like a 9 to 5?
Yeah, I mean, no, all I'm doing is the, like, the entertainment stuff and the DJ stuff.
Okay, so that brings us to the DJing. This is really cool. So, dude, when did you become a DJ? You used to just yell on mics.
Yeah.
I mean, but in a really creative way that I thought you were gonna succeed. I mean, every time I was like, yeah, like this guy, he's got like so much energy, he's got all this passion, he's got good rhymes, punchlines, great voice, like singing. But I guess like rap rock died and now it's all EDM. So you
Well,
hopped on?
there's that, and I think too, um, I don't wanna say that I, like, aged out of it, but it is a little bit hard to, like, resonate with the youth when you're in your late 30s and balding. That's just what it is. You know what I mean? And, like, I didn't get the clout of somebody like, we'll say big name, like an Aesop Rock, who
Yeah,
blew up
yeah,
when he was young enough to maintain a fan base that's gonna grow with him.
yep.
It's really hard to find a new fan base that wants to grow with me. And I've also, like, made mistakes where I've, like, kind of, like, changed what I'm doing. I haven't been, like, super consistent
Mm.
in terms of, like, I'm rapping with a band, rapping without a band. Sometimes it's more old school hip hop. Sometimes it's more rock adjacent. You know what I mean? I haven't like picked a lane. I'm very like, I want to do this now, and I just move on to that. So I think it's kind of hard to
Yeah,
get
but
people to stick with you. You know
dude,
what
I
I
don't
mean?
think that's a downside at all. That's what I like the most about it, is that it's so eclectic, that it's so it sounds different than anything else I'd heard. And what I'm specifically talking about is the, Sikes and the New Violence, is
Yeah,
that what it's called? Yeah, which is, I guess, the stuff that you were doing when I was sharing stages with you with
yeah,
Basic, right?
yeah, totally. Well, so there was the evolution, right? So like my stage rapper name, Sikes. I was that was just me in an iPod for a long time.
Yep.
And then I got a band. Well, first I got a DJ, then I got a drummer, then I got a bass player, and it turned into a band, right? Very similar to the basic situation.
Yeah.
Um, and then over time, I was like, this is more than me. You know what I mean? It's like these guys aren't just playing my songs now, we're actually writing songs together. So that's when I decided to turn it into Sykes and the New Violence. I wanted it to be like, I wanted everybody to feel like they were a part of something. And I also wanted people to know that it's not just me and an iPod on a stage. Like you're
Mm.
coming to see a band. And then over time, I just felt like I don't even like that anymore. Like I want it's more than Sykes and a New Violence. So now we're still doing music, the same core group of people, but it's the name is Normal Creatures. And we changed that a couple years ago. We put out a record in the middle of the pandemic that was kind of released at a poor time. There's, chaos
Yeah.
of the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and there's still a lot of people that don't even know that like Normal Creatures is a thing. I get people that are like, "What's Sykes and the New Violence been up to?" I'm like, "It's still a band. We just changed the name."
Oh, cool,
Cuz
cool.
like I've kind of like tried to not separate myself from being called Sykes. It's impossible at this point.
Yeah.
But it feels a little silly to introduce myself as Sykes to people now. Again, pushing 40. I think I'm just getting in my head about nicknames.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know what it is. But going back to the original question that you asked me, which was the DJing thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so now you're just Brian Howe, the front
So
man.
Brian Sykes Howe.
Yeah.
I've made a compromise. You can throw Sykes in the middle. People can pretend it's my middle name. It's not, but Brian Sykes Howe works for me.
It was because you were a prankster or something? You were always kinda messing with people?
No, Sykes was honestly just like so it was my graffiti name from when I was like
Oh, cool.
16.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
And
you
it
had
and
some
that was
hip
just
hop.
something as simple as like I liked the way the letters looked.
Yep.
There was no meaning behind it. And then when I was like 17, 18, 19, I was working at Taco Bell and I was making beats and people that I worked with were like rappers and they found out I made beats. So now I'm starting to like record rappers in my apartment, when I'm not at work. And it got to the point where I was producing stuff for so many people and people want to like shout me out on the track, but they can't say like
Brian
Brian.
Howe, yeah.
So like what should we
White boy
somebody was like, "What
Brian.
should we call you?" And at the time I was just like, Sykes is fine.
Right,
Because
right,
that was the only thing close to a nickname that I had, even though by the time I was 18, I was pretty much done with graffiti.
right.
But it was still there, lingering, right? And so that was it. And then it just stuck because then a couple years later, not that was like that transition into like me meeting like Ryan, aka Enigma, aka Amok, yeah, and like
Yes, yes.
all those guys, right? And
Yeah.
then like I started doing shows with them, and then I started making my own solo music at the same time they were making music, and that was like then end up meeting like Ryan Basic and like
Yep.
that whole
Pete,
crew.
like, Pete Flanagan or whatever,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and, like, the Kid
yeah,
Durango
yeah, yeah.
people, yeah.
Yeah, and like that's when like all those people started happening, and I just started doing music, and like everybody was already starting to call me Sykes at that time, so I just stuck with it.
Yep.
It's one of those things that I didn't think that people 2 decades later. close to 2 decades. It's fucked up to think about it being that long. We're getting there though.
Oh, yeah.
We're getting there. It was like 2007, 6, 7, the old the not the hookah lounge. What was that place?
H-Con.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was almost 20 years ago at
Oh,
this
yeah.
point.
No, people ask me, like, how long have I been away from Pittsburgh? It's like a 10-year exodus from Pittsburgh, and then,
Yeah.
like, yeah, so it's been a minute. So, where were you in high school when you
So
were doing making the beats and working at Taco Bell?
so I
And
went
then after,
so I was I graduated from Woodland Hills.
which is Pittsburgh?
Yeah, it's Pittsburgh.
Cool.
That's like it's not Pittsburgh public. It's like the Braddock Hills, Swissvale, Edgewood, somewhat Regent Square area, like
Yep.
the east end of the
Yep, East
city.
End.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that was like pretty much where I grew up. And I worked at the Edgewood Town Center Taco Bell.
Nice.
Yes.
I worked
So
so much fast food.
yeah.
I worked fast food all through college and before. Got my first fast food job, it was like 14, 15 at McDonald's. Used to throw parties at the Red Roof Inn with our little paycheck,
N-
$250 at the end of the
Hard.
week or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And it was not hard. It was quite soft. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. I'm really glad I don't do that shit anymore.
we're uh we're doing the a very good podcast thing where we keep getting sidetracked.
No, no, I'm
DJing.
glad you're coming back to it. No, this
DJing.
is all very intentional.
Yeah.
So you were
So
in Braddock, then you started making music as Sikes.
yeah.
You got a band. You eventually and you still have both of those projects. You didn't even mention the metal band.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's so much stuff that happened. Like I've played in. So it should be noted too that like all throughout high school, like I started making beats when I was in like 8th grade,
Yeah.
and like me and my high school buddies had like goofy. We had a goofy rap project that we called the Orgy Boys,
Yeah.
and it was very much like our like it was like Beastie Boys distilled through like South Park jackass culture.
Yep.
That like that's what we were. We were
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
idiots and like just writing dumb songs about robbing people and big fat titties and like 15-year-old suburban white kid shit, right?
Right.
And like
Right.
but like the thing was like I really liked it was like a joke, but I really liked making beats and I really liked writing. So
What
that was, like, how I got into, like, even, like, writing and making beats was, like, from this joke stuff, but as I, like, got a little bit older, I started to take it a little bit more seriously, um,
does
and I
the
think that my production style never really changed.
Are you
I
still
think
using the same equipment and same software?
no, no, no. I think when I started in 8th grade on the MTV Music Generator on Sony PlayStation. Did you ever use that thing? It's
No
like
idea. No,
so
that's wild.
so
We had
yeah,
a PlayStation though. Like that was the thing we saved up for. We had Metal Gear Solid. I shared it
yeah,
with my friend, so he had it at his place, but we had both collaborated, so I'd
uh-huh.
have to go over there and that was
So yeah, there was in the mid '90s. Um, Codemasters was the developer. They put out this thing called the Music Generator, and it was MTV's like put their name on it. But basically, it was like a Fruity Loops program on PlayStation.
wow.
Like it had loops and all this stuff. You could like sample into it. You could like make beats. You could do your own original things. It was really cool, and I mean, like that was how I got started making music. You know,
It's awesome.
um,
But it transitioned
Oh yeah,
over the years.
definitely. It's transitioned,
Where are you now? Like a lot
So
of more live instruments and
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, like, I do over time, like it was at that Taco Bell job, I ended up getting I ended up trading my camcorder for a computer to
yeah.
this kid named John Bernard that lived in Monroeville. And the computer had Magic's Audio Studio Deluxe 7 on it.
Yeah.
It was a Windows 98 computer. I actually still have this computer.
Holy
I
shit.
don't use it, but I still have it.
It still runs?
Yeah, it
Oh, that's
runs.
so cool.
Has an 8 GB hard drive in it. But
Incredible.
that was the computer that actually I used that. That was the computer that I was recording all of the people, my friends from Taco Bell on,
Yeah.
and like I did the first 2 Sykes records on that computer. I used that thing probably until about 2009 when I bought a used MacBook off my friend Tim Indyke. I'm shouting out a lot of people that I haven't talked to in a
Yeah.
very long
No,
time
this
on
is
here.
fun.
But
They'll be hard to track down. I'm always trying to
yeah,
find these people that people bring up. It's like, man, Google is like not that powerful. I mean, I'll
yeah.
sometimes I'll go on people's Instagram and like hit a little search and just see if the name comes up, but I'm not going that deep. Let's put it that way.
But yeah, man, it was a very like natural thing. It was just like, you know, it just kind of happened where like, I was making music all through high school. The first like piece of hardware that I bought was a Korg Electribe ES1, which
Mhm.
I still have.
Yeah.
I don't use it, but I have it.
But see, no wonder you need all this storage space. You keep on mentioning all this, like,
Oh yeah,
decrepit gear that you're
oh yeah,
stacking up.
yeah, yeah.
That's
I
where it all lives.
totally, yeah. Some of it
Yeah.
is there.
Do
Actually,
you
the
record
ES1
there
is
too?
there.
I'm sure. Is it also a place where you can record and, like, practice with the band or no?
I probably could record there. I wouldn't practice there. It would be too tight for that, but I probably could record there. My setup now that I still have my home setup, I mean, it takes up space because I have a bunch of synthesizers sitting out, but it could really be condensed down.
Yeah.
It is still just a computer with a ton of, you know, good plugins and
Yeah.
like a decent interface. I don't have like a ton of like rack mount compressors and all that sort of stuff. I still use a lot of in the box stuff inside the DAW. But anyways,
So, eventually you
DJing.
started DJing.
Yeah, I mean basically all that happened was I had been, collecting records. My uncle was a big record collector, and I grew up going to a ton of record shops. And like it's all collecting and music has always been a big part of my upbringing. So around that same time when I worked at Taco Bell, I ended up buying a turntable, you know,
Hmm.
and I bought a turntable, and my uncle gave me like all my old records that he had picked up for me when I was a kid. It was just like Anthrax, Iron Maiden, Slayer stuff, all that shit.
Yeah.
But I got a turntable and I just started buying records, and like I have never stopped buying records. I'm a
Nice.
big record guy, and it was just one of those things where it was like one time a friend of mine was having a house party, and he's like, I'm looking for a DJ. Would you want to DJ a house party? So I just like DJ'd a house party with like a crate full of records, one turntable, and a laptop.
Yep.
Nothing fancy.
Yeah.
And there was like no rules, but I had fun. I liked it. And then I ended up doing like a couple more house parties. I actually lived in a house not too far from here in like the early 2010s.
Mm.
It was a band house, and like we would have parties all the time, and I would just like have my turntable out, and I would be like DJing loosely,
Yeah.
you know.
But you would just play one record after another?
Yeah, I mean, like I would like swap, play a couple tracks here and there, try to, fuck around. Sometimes I might be more involved than others.
Yeah.
Depends.
Well, no, no, no. So you only had one turntable?
Oh, when I lived at that house,
Yeah.
my other buddy had a turntable too.
Got it.
But they were like they were not DJing turntables, but we were able
Yeah.
to like,
But you had a mixer
yeah,
and 2 turntables?
yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
I learned on belt drives. It is what
yeah,
it is. Like,
yeah,
just because you can't scratch doesn't mean you can't blend and mix.
totally, totally. And like it just over time it became a thing where I just kind of fell into it. And then a buddy of mine was doing an event at Lava Lounge. It was like the original Pittsburgh emo night
Mm.
at Lava Lounge when that place was open. R.I.P. And I was just like, yo, if you ever need a guest DJ, I'd be down. Like I have, like because he was just there with a laptop, and I was like, I actually have all of these records.
Yeah.
It'd be fun if you want ever want to do anything different. And he's like, okay. And then one day he hit me up, so I started doing the events, and he was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I was like, cool. So I took it over, and then I ended up rebranding it, and that's what turned into MySpace Night, which is a night that I still do like every month at Brillo Box now.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
moved.
It's
We were
been
doing it. The emo thing moved from Lava Lounge when it closed. We tried doing it at Spirit for a bit. Didn't really work out there, and then we moved it to Brillo Box. I changed the name of the event, and we just did one on Saturday. Like I'm still doing it. That was
amazing,
in 2017 when I started doing that.
amazing.
So it's crazy. I think it's been that long.
What's the, like, setup now for your DJing? What does it look like?
Oh, it's all digital. You know what I mean? Because it's just like
No controller?
oh, I mean, it's a controller. I have it's a Pioneer. I just got the Flex 10.
Okay.
Yeah, it's dope.
Serato?
It's Serato. Yeah.
Yeah, so you use Serato and
Yeah.
just mix and
Yeah.
hit the sync button, a couple blends?
Yeah.
You hit a
A
little
little
beat matching?
yeah, we can fuck around sometimes. You
Mixed
know.
in key? Or do you look at the keys or at all or no?
I have. Sometimes it doesn't really matter
Not that
because
important.
most of the time it doesn't bother me that much.
Yeah.
With MySpace Night, it's kind of a fun event because like it's like anything from like the emo Fallout Boy, My Chemical Romance type stuff to
Yeah.
like Kesha, Katy Perry
Amazing.
type stuff and everything
Amazing.
in between.
Yeah.
And like sometimes the rock stuff can kind of be hard to blend because even though it has a tempo, it's still like live instruments and it's not
Mhm.
quantized, so it's
Yep.
not perfect. But a lot of that like other shit, all that pop stuff from the same time, half of it's at the same fucking tempo already. I don't even have to sync it. But
I probably have edits for you, just so you know. If you
yeah,
need those quantized, I got you,
yeah,
probably. A lot of them come from C-Flow. The
yeah,
dude is incredible. Coleman, Howard, if it's 90s, 2000s, R&B, hip hop, rock, like, he's made them all. So, hit
yeah.
that website, man, it'll change your life.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun event, and like it's like I still have a hard time like calling myself a DJ
Right.
to some degree because like I feel like more what I do is just like I kind of like host parties and curate a vibe,
Oh, I hate that.
you know?
Oh, I hate that. Nothing worse. I was hoping you wouldn't say it.
Yeah,
Fucking vibe curators. Oh,
yeah,
I hate them.
yeah.
Ah! But
I
I know
mean,
what you mean. I know what
but
you mean.
I mean like that's
You're hosting. You're
because
more of
that's
an
the thing.
MC.
Well,
You're
totally,
emceeing the party, right?
totally. I
You
think
have the mic and like
yeah, yeah.
you're like creating an energy and kind of allowing people to experience what they want to experience by chaperoning them into the
Totally.
lane that they already want to go into
Totally, and it's like it's
using music
really
and your voice.
it's a type of thing too where it's like I'm very aware of like the type of events that I do. It's like people aren't coming to this event to see me.
Right.
They're coming for the theme.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's something that's a lot different than like the EDM world or other type of DJing stuff. And it's like that's a completely different world. And that stuff is very valid and
Yeah.
it's cool. It's just not what I do.
Have you noticed the actual direction that the people are dancing? This has been a big topic recently where people are facing the DJ booth at EDM shows and people are saying like this isn't what house music was supposed to be. People are supposed to be dancing facing each other on the dance
Yes.
floor.
I get that a lot at my shows,
Yeah.
which is
They
great.
face each other, they're
Yeah.
taking selfies, they're, like,
That's the
interacting
idea.
with each other rather than and then you can create that with lights too, like, you don't have to have a big spotlight on yourself or anything, and Brillo's great for that, like, I feel. He's like maybe that's one of the reasons Spirit wasn't the perfect fit because like, the stage at Spirit's kinda high compared to Brillo maybe, or was it the downstairs?
It was we were doing it downstairs.
Yeah.
We've done since then, we've done events upstairs and downstairs for different parties.
Yeah.
And like some things just work there and some things just don't.
You gotta
I mean, that's any
it's a
venue.
destination, like, you
That's
gotta kind of wanna be there. Brillo's, like, right in the middle of everything. It's like Trace Brewery, like, you're
yeah,
gonna get there one way or another. You might not even wanna go there, you're gonna get there. It's like D
yeah.
Washington, DC.
It's interesting like where some things work and where some things don't work. Speaking of DC, we've done a lot of events. I've done a lot of events at 930 Club,
Yeah,
and that's a really cool room. It's huge. Um, we've done some big events there, but like that's the type of event where it's like I feel like because it's such a big room and such a big stage, people feel like they're supposed to be looking at you,
totally.
and I need to make it like I know this is a big space. It's not my fault that so many of you wanted to come out, but please don't look at me. Like I am not the entertainment.
I loved,
You're all the entertainment, you know what I
Das
mean?
Racist did a
Yeah.
song with everybody facing backwards. They're like, "Everybody" it was at Bonnaroo, they're like, "Everybody face towards the fountain," which was, like, what they were looking at, you
Uh-huh.
know? And so everybody they had, like, the whole crowd just turn around, and they did a song like that. Um, but yeah, I mean the alternative is you could just, like, buy into it, right? You could become that superstar DJ dude. You could get a perm. You could, get some dancing girls, start shooting off, paper towel rolls like Girl
Sure.
Talk, invite people up on stage. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like it's just not my energy. With our company now, because like we ended up starting a company and like I talent manage about 20 DJs now.
This is for the Taylor Swift shit?
Yeah, and like other parties. We have like about 5 or 6 parties, different parties that we're doing now.
It's crazy, man.
And we do events all across the country. We have DJs all over the country. And we have some that are more personalities than others.
Yeah,
And like for me it's just like just be yourself up there. Like there's no like blueprint for how this event should work other than like the theme, host it the best way you can.
is it like bands are done? It's just too obnoxious bringing gear around and, like, splitting the $500 between 5 people? It's just miserable, right?
Yeah, I don't think bands are done. I just think that there's just a market for people that want like a themed event versus like because like what I always say, like for Taylor Swift night in particular, or the Taylor party is what we should be calling it. Uh,
Have they come after you yet?
we've been advised, uh, to call it the Taylor party, which is understandable, and we're
Fair.
super respectful of everything.
Yeah.
Um, but the situation is that these are more like I always say it's like a fan meetup. It's like a Comic Con
Mm.
type thing. And the reason why people are coming out to these events is because it's like they know that they're not going to have to be around bad actors or weird guys
Mm.
or like a place that's trying to like take advantage of them. They know that they're going to go, they're going to hear music that they like, they're going to be around people that they feel comfortable around,
Mhm.
and it's going to be a good time.
Were you also in part of the Barbie parties and the Ken parties? Was that also you? I was looking at the website. I went deep
So
down the road.
Okay, yeah, so we're doing the Ken's Mojo Dojo Casa Rave. We just did the first one actually last week.
Amazing,
And,
amazing.
yeah,
It was
that's
like
our event.
this is like
I'm
Texas or like you guys have been everywhere.
Oh, yeah, we've been all over the country. But, that one just started. We just did the first one at the Roxy and, um
Amazing.
this past Friday. It
Yeah,
was it was a first run.
yeah,
Wasn't bad. There's a lot of notes to take, as far as, like, what kinda stuff people wanna hear, because you always have the idea,
yeah.
when you're again curating the vibe, I'm sorry, of what this event's gonna be.
It's alright, my blood didn't boil. It got to 98
But when you're trying to think about like
Celsius.
the idea is there, but people are gonna come and they're gonna have a completely different idea of what it's gonna be. And it's for them.
Whoa.
It's not for us.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like taking notes from the crowd, talking to people there, talking with the venue, just like it's gonna take a few of these to kind of figure out what the event's actually gonna be.
Are you trying to get bar deals or just straight cover? And, like, are you trying to sell tickets beforehand or just
Oh,
collect at the
there's
door?
always pre-sale tickets. I mean, the thing with like the deals and venues, it's different for every place.
Yeah, it's
You know what I
obnoxious.
mean? Like
Yep.
there's some venues that we have like a good relationship with because we've done the other parties there over the past couple years. So they're willing to like take a chance on our new ideas because they know that like we're gonna promote it. We have good DJs. We're not gonna fuck around, right?
Mm.
And then there's other places where it's like they've never worked with us before, so the deals might be different. It's just different from city to city, market to market.
Can I have a franchise? Can if I'm in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and I wanna, start my own tailor party, can I, give you 25%?
Well, we have DJs pretty much all over the country now at
Yeah.
this point. So,
What are they working for? Like, they just work for Sikes or, like, what's
so
the
it's
name of the company?
TSN Parties is technically the name of the company.
Cool.
And with that being said, we are by far not the only people that are doing like themed events, whether it
Sure.
be based around Taylor Swift or other intellectual properties. We're one of many.
It was big with, like, the paint parties and the glow parties and the bubble parties, for the last decade and plus, a lot of the people I bring on here who talk about starting DJing, talk about doing those kind of raves as their first thing. Alex Rivera was one of them, like, going off and working for these rave companies in the middle of Pennsylvania that were doing these bubble glow,
Sure.
whatever, paint parties.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But this is the next wave, I guess.
It's just a different wave. You know what I mean? Like there's so many people in the world. And there's going to be people that prefer to just still see like a live band. There's going to be people that want to go to the EDM event to see the hot TikTok DJ or whatever. And there's going to be people that want to just go to a Taylor Swift theme party because they love Taylor Swift.
Mm.
So it's just a matter of like, these venues aren't huge that we're doing. I mean, they're big, but you know what I mean. We'll do like a 500 to sometimes a 2,000 cap room.
Yep.
In the grand scheme of things, that's really not that many people. You know, one you could find just market to that many people.
Yeah.
Get a few hundred people to come out for your one night for your event. The market's there.
What are the big ways you can advertise to people? Is it Instagram for
Oh,
the most part?
all the social media
Yeah.
stuff, radio stuff, print advertising still for
Wow.
sure, flyers,
Nice.
everything. Everything you could think of. Also, like social media influencers,
Ooh.
inviting them to come out to events. So they post stuff on their pages to help promote things, like all that. All that.
Wow.
We do all that sort of stuff.
Wow. You're heavy in the game, man.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing this?
So I always say it accidentally started in November of 2021.
Just, like, middle pandemic.
Yeah, it was, like, when things were just starting to come back.
As soon as the
Um, I mean,
embers.
really, it was just, like, uh, just me and, a couple buddies were just, like, people that promote shows and things like that. We're just like, "Hey, there's some openings at venues because bands aren't touring yet. What do you think
Mm.
about just doing, like, a couple DJ nights?" Like, I thought that I was gonna do, like, 6 of these Taylor Swift nights, and then it was just gonna be the next thing.
Who came up with the Taylor idea?
So, it
And
was
who likes Taylor Swift? Most importantly.
a lot of people.
No, 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 like, are you a big fan?
Well, now I am contractually obligated to say that I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan. No, I do like Taylor Swift, but I didn't realize at the time, like, how big of a world it was, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? I think, like, you know, my buddy actually, it was my buddy that, I was originally doing the emo night stuff with that kind of went off and I started doing MySpace night. Like, me and him
Yeah.
had worked, on different events throughout the years, and he just hit me up like, "Hey, like, what do you think about doing a Taylor Swift theme party?" And I was like,
Whoa.
"Okay, I mean, like, it could work, sure." But I mean, genuinely, I was like, "Okay, like, yeah, like, we could do who wants to do it?" It was funny because, like, we had a hard time even finding a venue in Pittsburgh to wanna do it.
Wow. Wow. And
And, I
how
know that
often can you
and
do it
not
here
not
now?
well, I mean, we do them once a year here.
Yeah.
But, like, I remember, and I'm not trying to put anybody on blast, but I know that, like, when we first did it, the first one that we did was at Spirit
Mhm.
upstairs, and I know that they were, like, hesitant about, like, you know, promoting it on their social media or doing anything because I guess, like, on the surface, it's like,
Yeah, yeah, you
"We don't
gotta
wanna
be.
promote this Taylor Swift event, we're Spirit." I get it.
Oh, I
You
thought
know what I
you
mean?
were talking about, like, for legal reasons.
No,
No, just
no,
for, like, for clout
I
or, like,
guess,
whatever.
but the event sold out very fast, and,
Yeah,
like,
everybody who couldn't get tickets to the actual show
I
wanted to
mean,
go
well,
dance to the music.
this was way before she was even back on tour. You know what I mean? She wasn't touring yet at the time. This
But
was
think about, you know, for every person that can afford $1,500 to go and be inside of Acrisure,
sure.
there's 1,000 people who would love to pay $50, meaning not just the ticket, like the getting to and
Yeah,
from,
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
outfit, the
Yeah.
drinks, like, $50 like all inclusive to go have an amazing night listening to the exact same music and like actually better because it's mixed and it's only the best song. I don't know, like
I've
eh,
had, they're again, they're just two very different things.
yeah.
Like seeing her live and her production and everything is completely different from what we're doing. They're not even in the same realm. But I know that there are people that, you know, prefer one over the other. I've had people come up to me and say that they had more fun at our events than
That's
seeing
what I'm
her
saying.
live.
That's what I'm saying. Did you
Um,
go?
yeah,
You went to the
twice.
show? Oh, you've seen her twice?
Yes.
Amazing?
It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, the production's phenomenal.
A lot of different outfits,
Totally.
good dancers.
Oh, it's insane.
She moves
It's
well, good voice.
yeah, all everything it's top notch.
Yeah.
It's top notch.
The pinnacle of what
It's
the
intimidating.
industry can create.
It's intimidating,
Yeah.
actually. It's crazy, and it really, like, it was so cool, seeing, like, how they're, like, doing, like, they're, like, changing the sets while the songs are going on,
Yeah.
and the dancers are also working as stagehands. There was, like, a part where, like, they had, like, taking apart parts of the stage worked into the dance routines, and you wouldn't even
That's
realize
cool as
what's
fuck.
happening, but
Yeah, that's
because,
cool
like,
as
I'm a
fuck.
freak, I'm looking at it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"They're taking apart the fucking set right
I
now."
saw that in, and I won't remember, but it was one of the plays that I watched, like, somewhere in New York. They were like, the actors were also breaking down the set. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
but it was,
saying?
like,
Like
part of the show.
yeah.
It's so cool. I
Yeah,
love that stuff. I love theater. And, just
How do you bring that to your parties? Like, do
well,
you
you
guys have
can't.
outfits or, like, do
You
you have
can't.
decorations or
You
giveaways or
I mean, we keep things pretty simple.
yeah.
There's other parties that I've seen that people do that are, like, Taylor related, where they do, like, lip sync contests or costume contests and all that stuff,
Yeah.
and, like, to me, that's kinda corny.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I it's like, for me, it's just like, all I wanna do is just show up, play the songs, let people dance, not talk too much, just just give them what they want, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? We have, like, photo backdrops for people to take
Cool.
pictures in front
Cool.
of, we have branded balloons, we have, like, a lot of visuals, like, I do a lot of, like, live VJing and DJing now at the
Oh,
same
cool.
time.
Do you have
So
Serato video
so what I'm actually
extension or no?
doing is I've messed with Serato Video,
Yeah.
but I don't like to have everything so synced up that it's like now we're just like we're hanging out and watching YouTube in a venue. So
Yeah.
I have a separate computer that I run all my visuals from, and I'll just like play like clips that are adjacent to songs and
Cool.
I'll switch things. And sometimes it's not even like a music video. It might just be um like little like random backgrounds that I've made that say the Taylor party and have like
Mhm.
flashing images. I just move things around in real time.
Nice.
But we have also like not every DJ does that that works for our company. We have like just like some default loops that people can change between because not everybody's like a video jockey.
Mhm.
But for me, it makes it a little bit funner because like for these events, I'm actually not doing anything super creative from the a playlist standard. It's
Mm.
like very light mixing because like nobody wants your creative take on their favorite song.
Yeah, they don't wanna hear you
Yeah,
scratching over
yeah,
what's her biggest song? My Own Worst Enemy or whatever? Antihero? I
yeah,
don't fucking know.
sure. That's a song. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, but no, nobody wants your creative take. I remember, like, in the start, like, I was trying to, like, do, like, some, like, live mashups and things, and, like,
Yeah.
it's not that it didn't hit, but I feel like people just wanna hear the songs. And,
Yeah.
like, I've even had, like, people at MySpace night come up to me and, like, thank me for, like, playing whole songs instead of cutting them.
Wow.
Because, like, the other thing too is, like, with emo music, right, which is a lot of MySpace night, some of the most, like, magical moments in those songs are the bridge.
Mhm.
Like, where it really breaks down and gets emotional. I mean, that's in the fucking name of the genre, right?
Totally.
It's not like, some, like, pop music where it's like, yeah, you can play the hook in the first verse and move on.
It'd be like playing chop suey and not playing the bridge. It's the
Exactly.
best part.
Exactly. Exactly.
There's so
But,
many so many examples.
there are other people, in Pittsburgh that do, like, emo adjacent nights, and I think that I've been to them, and I know that they do kind of the opposite, where they're just, like, they're trying to cram in as much as possible, right? So you're just getting those, like,
Yeah.
that first, like, 90 seconds of each song,
Yeah.
and, like, you're missing a lot of the important stuff. I mean, it's fun to kinda go from one thing to the other and keep it moving, but I think that the people that go to those events and the people that go to my events are actually different people.
Mhm.
It was interesting, like, when I went to I was like, I've never seen any of these people at any of my events, but they're having a good time. So that goes back to my point of just, like, I know what I do, and I know there's a
Yeah.
market for that.
That's cool.
So that's just you have your crowd, I have my crowd, we're doing different things.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really cool. I mean, it doesn't sound like that's like the craft of DJing is necessarily the paramount, like most important part, but I think that's okay because first of all, nobody gives a shit, and second of all, like they shouldn't because it's not that important. Like
Yeah,
maybe in like a hip hop sense, like you know, there was this idea that only people that are like at the top of their game should be allowed on stage and somebody's going to come up and battle you someday and they're going to put a Vestax mixer down and you guys are going to have to do head spins on the cardboard and whoever stays up the longest gets to keep the gig.
sure, yeah,
But like that's not real. Like, that's just not real.
totally, and the other thing too is, like, I mean, there is a lot of, like, valid technique in the world of DJing that I will not dismiss. It's
Yeah.
just not like what I do, which is
Yeah.
why again, like I have a hard time even saying like that I am a DJ.
Yeah.
I hate telling people that I DJ events. Not that I don't want to be a DJ. It's just like again, it's just like I'm going on stage, there's a theme for the night,
Yep.
and I'm playing songs, I'm watching the crowd. I'm just trying to maintain a good energy throughout the night and keep people dancing, which I guess
Yeah.
is an important part of DJing.
I think it's the most important. I mean, it sounds like you
You
got it pretty
know,
much figured out. Are you interested in playing vinyl anymore at all?
so yeah, totally. I've been thinking about I really want to do like like an 80s hair metal night that's like all vinyl. I
Cool.
thought that would be fun. The issue with like a lot of the parties that I'm doing now is that like okay, I could probably do my space night all vinyl,
Yeah.
but all of the pressings sound like dog shit
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
all of that genre of music.
That's crazy, actually. I didn't think about that,
It
yeah.
just sounds
Yeah,
awful.
they all sound like they were like, found in a bargain bin at, Urban Outfitters
Sure. I mean, they probably were, to be fair. You know what I mean? And
next to a
like,
copy of Wu-Tang Forever.
yeah, yeah. And like a Selena Gomez record, you know. But yeah, the
Yeah.
stuff it just doesn't sound
"If you're
good.
ready, come and get it. Na, 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 na."
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the other thing that's important too is like what's going to sound the best.
Mhm.
You know,
320 MP3s. Fuck it. I
so,
still play them.
digital for me in the type of stuff that I do makes the most sense right now, but I'm not against the idea of doing a vinyl set.
I
I would
wanna
love to.
do an event at Blue Sky probably in the spring called Stone Age Brunch, which is all vinyl, no technology. I've talked about it on here a lot, but it's like cash only, no computers, Polaroid cameras on the tables,
Cool.
lock up everybody's cell phone when they walk in with a, Faraday cage. But I gotta make the Faraday cages or buy them first. It's gonna take some effort,
Yeah.
but I'll get some advice from you offline about how to build out an event and things. It'll be
Totally.
good.
Totally.
But Deanie Daddy is one of my favorites who plays vinyl here.
Mm.
He doesn't mix. So this is kind of like Connects, right? It's like he's a vinyl DJ only. He has his own night at Goldmark tonight, Wednesdays, one Wednesday a month. And he hangs out with a bunch of other vinyl DJs who do like blends, like Pretty Tony, who's incredible. Like if you want to go see somebody DJ in Pittsburgh, I recommend him like at the top. Even if you're not interested in that kind of like style, dude, just like for song selection, like the records he has, it's like disco, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
just like crushes, absolutely crushes, especially at Trace at their Disco Sunday disco
Oh,
party,
cool. Yeah.
which I highly recommend as well. Starts off with a lot of kids, like early half of the day, and then as it gets darker, it gets crazier.
Yeah, love it.
And then the other dude is the one from Hot Mass named Jared Tebbets or something like that. Jared Tebbets, yeah, who plays vinyl, but yeah, there's a bunch of them out there. Bus
Totally.
Crates is
Oh
incredible.
yeah.
Bus Crates, absolutely. Orlando, he can throw down on wax.
Yeah. No, I think that I love the idea of doing it. It's just, you know, it doesn't make sense for anything that I'm doing currently.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping actually I this is a little inside baseball,
Ooh,
but we are going to be doing some extra nights at Brillo coming next year. I'm going to be doing some theme some we have some different ideas for some different parties in addition to MySpace night.
dope,
And some of those, we might fuck around and do some vinyl stuff. We'll see.
amazing. I
Just
love it.
because I love the idea of doing it. And, my girlfriend, Grace, she started out doing like all vinyl country DJing. So, she has a decent setup and things like that. So,
Would you be upset if I showed you that I had your girlfriend's name tattooed over my heart?
no. Oh, yeah, you do. What's the story behind that?
It was high school, man. It was another time. No, my wife's name's also Grace.
Nice.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Although I got it for my mom's dad when he died,
Mm,
because my mom's maiden name is Grace.
wow.
So, yeah, Irene Grace.
There's a lot of grace, a lot of graceful energy in the environment today, huh?
Yeah, what the fuck is grace? It's like something religious. It's like what God gives you, but you don't deserve.
Oh, I wouldn't know.
Something you say before you eat.
That's a thing, yeah.
You never asked her what her name meant.
No, never really thought about it. I don't really think much about names. What does your name mean?
Isaac, he who laughs, which is perfect for me because I have the
Mm.
most obnoxious laugh in
Do you know
Pittsburgh.
what Brian means?
No idea.
Yeah, I don't either.
Brian, it's like Irish or something. Brian,
I don't know.
Brian O'Callahan.
I have no idea, dude.
Do you do you want to talk a little bit about the rock side and kind of like your metal band
Sure.
and like what like where does that come from and I mean I guess you were already screaming a lot when you were rapping,
Well,
but you were
okay.
always like a little bit
So
angry.
if we go back to the beginning, I had mentioned that my uncle, when I turned like 16, I got a turntable from working at Taco Bell. My uncle gave me all my records from when I was a kid. And I said that was Anthrax, Maiden, Slayer, all that
Yeah.
stuff. So I grew up like primarily listening to a lot of rock adjacent music. My dad was a big metal guy. That came off on me. And then, in general, like I'm a child of the late 80s, early 90s. So like rock was pretty big in the zeitgeist as well. Aside from like all of that like more traditional stuff, there was still like things like Korn and Rage Against the Machine
Incredible.
and even stuff like Smashing Pumpkins or Silverchair, Nirvana, all that stuff, right? You know what I mean? Guitar music. There's a lot of it. I grew up around all that stuff. So I always loved it and I always wanted to be in like a rock band to some degree, but it never really happened until I was older. I was doing, I had like bands in high school, like we would try to like do things, and it never really happened outside of like leaving the garage. But when I started rapping, I think a big part of that like aggression that I had in my style was it was like I always like wrote even my rap stuff from like a rock perspective. It was never like, "Oh, this is my 16 bar beat that I'm gonna loop." Like I always had like, "Oh, there's the intro, there's the verse, there's the chorus, there's the bridge." I always like structured my songs like that.
Yeah.
And I think I just wanted to be in a band. And I started playing shows. I played a lot of shows with bands, like being like the opening solo guy,
Yeah.
rolling around on the ground, screaming like a crazy person.
Did you learn to play any instruments?
Nothing outside of just like synth and things like that from making beats.
Yeah.
I mean, I could like probably sit behind a drum kit, you know what I mean? And I could play, but I never owned a drum kit or a guitar or anything like that. So no, I mean, it was pretty much, I think I just always wanted to be a front person, I guess, to some degree.
Yeah.
Um, but from playing shows with a bunch of bands, I ended up meeting somebody that was just like, "Hey, have you ever thought about being in a metal band?" I was like, "Funny you should ask me that because I love metal." So I ended up joining a band that was actually playing shows. Um, and then yeah, from there it just became a spiral of me being in different bands throughout the years.
So that was before Grey Walker.
Totally, totally. Grey Walker. Well, Grey Walk. The interesting thing about Grey Walker, it's actually really not that interesting if I'm being honest with you. But Grey Walker was a band before I was in it. Um, and then the vocalist stepped aside or whatever. I really don't remember exactly what happened there, but they had asked me to like fill in for some shows that they had, and then I just never left. Pretty much, it just
Nice.
worked out, and I ended up being in the band. But Colt, who was playing bass in Grey Walker at the time, was in another band that I used to be in. And everybody else that was in that band had been in other bands that we all knew each other through the grapevine, you know
This
what I
is
mean?
like the Foo Fighters, like Dave Grohl story when he's talking about forming Foo Fighters.
Totally.
Like
And like
every single member of that band had played with somebody else in the band in a different band.
yeah, yeah. I mean like Joey, who was the drummer for Grey Walker, was the first drummer for Sikes and the New Violence.
Yep.
So it's like we all knew each other, and that would have been in 2014 was whenever that started. That was actually not too long after I
Wow.
started the podcast.
Wow.
Going back to the beginning of our conversation,
Yeah, yeah.
like I wasn't in any bands or anything like that, and then they had just hit me up like, "Hey, like you want to do vocals on some
When it
shows?"
rains, it pours, man. I talk about this on the podcast, but it's like if you're wondering why things aren't moving, like why doors aren't opening for you, it's probably because you need to open some doors. Like, and sometimes it's shitty doors that you have to open
Oh
because
yeah.
you open it and then better doors open. Like, it's like how I got the gig at Goldmark. So I got here. I really wanted to DJ, but I'd been out of the game forever. Eventually, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to take this open decks gig. And the open decks gig was like, open fucking decks, man. It was like literally hobbling myself to do some shit that like I I fucking did Snoop Dogg at Stage AE. Like I'm fucking, you know what I mean? Like whatever. So I humbled myself. I went and did it, but even before I played that show, I hit up my buddy Dap because I was trying to find a CDJ to practice on because I knew that Open Decks had CDJs, and I'm like, dude, like, do you know anybody with CDJs? He's like, "No, but do you wanna DJ with me tomorrow night at Goldmark?" It's like, "Yeah, fuck yeah." And it was amazing. It was like the best show ever. But that's how it works every single time. It's like when you open yourself up to the possibilities of the universe, more good shit comes into your life.
Totally. You just have to like let people know that you're doing stuff. Like it was funny. I released a solo record over the summer, and it was the first solo record that I had put out in almost 10 years. And this was just like a collection of stuff that I recorded while on the road last year DJing. Like I recorded most of this like on a MacBook in hotel rooms.
Cool.
And like did most of it all in my laptop, very stripped down. It felt very like a return to like old school form. But I was like, I want to try to play some shows. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, I'm completely removed from like the local hip hop community at this point. I don't even know what's going on, honestly, at this point. I'm sure something's happening, but I don't know. But I just put some
Jimmy Wapo.
I put out
Jimmy
some
Wapo.
I put out some feelers.
Yeah.
It was just like, hey, like, I made these songs. I would like to play some shows. And then, like, somebody hit me up and then I played a show and somebody at that show was like, hey, you want to play this show? And then now we're at the point again where it's like, "Hey, if you need somebody on a show, hit me up." But,
Yeah.
there was a good little run of shows that I did just from being like, "Hey, I'm
It's a
here,"
snowball. Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And that's kind of like what happened with the DJing stuff too,
Showing
We did
face.
we did one show at Spirit that did really well, and then a venue in Chicago was like, "Sure, we'll try it here." And that did really well. And then here we are 2 years later, I'm still doing this shit.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
Love it. And doing it and not having to do anything else, basically.
totally.
And funding your passion project,
Oh, yeah.
like your podcast.
Yeah, very, very
Amazing.
fortunate. Really in a cool position. I mean, it is still like it's funny now because like I'm production managing all of our events. And there's some weekends where we might have. I mean, there's been weekends where we've had like 16 events in a weekend.
No, and it's no weddings, no bar mitzvahs,
No,
just
just
straight
club events.
club nights, and you don't have to have any gear or
All of our people travel with their own gear,
the DJs have their own like
just controllers.
controllers,
Yeah,
and
everybody's.
the clubs have their own PAs.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
So it's literally plug and play.
yeah,
It's a pretty good gig.
yeah. It's not bad, but it's still like emailing, six
Yeah.
to eight venues a week, making sure that they got everything and making sure all of the talent has their information, making sure everything's being promoted.
That's the part that would kill me. The
You know,
promo has gotta be
so,
insane.
like now we kind of, well, it takes a village, you know what I mean? So there's like a whole team of people that we have now that,
Wow.
work that we work with that, we pay for their services and,
Incredible.
it works out, it's cool. But, it's like at the end of the day, it's like not too different from the last job I was at where it's just like a lot of emails and spreadsheets keeping track of everything. It's like I'm doing something cool, but I am still like sitting in front of a computer
Yeah.
a lot of the time, just emailing spreadsheets. And I do a lot of our like creative stuff too, like some graphic design work, a lot of our video work, like all of our like visuals that we do. I put all that stuff together. So
Nice.
yeah,
You can use, like, iMovie or
I use
Final Cut,
Premiere.
Adobe Premiere, yeah.
Yeah,
Adobe is amazing. I love the Adobe suite. The new artificial intelligence tools, the generative fill, like, unbelievable.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
I take a picture at the end of each of these episodes, and sometimes I kinda miss, like, one of my arms will be cut off or something like that, and just slap it in Adobe, as long as it doesn't have to do hands,
Uh
because
huh.
'cause it'll give you, like, 6 fingers, and it'll
Yeah,
be all
totally.
kinda fucked up, but eventually it'll fix that too.
Yeah, eventually.
Just needs enough hands to look at.
Yeah,
Needs more for some reason.
yeah. Everybody just needs to take more pictures of their hands.
For some, it's not as forbidden as the foot, right? The foot is somehow much more sexual than the hand.
Yeah, for some people.
I mean, nobody's paying for hand pictures, are they?
I guess that's a good point. The hands are more exposed. I bet you if we make it a social, well, it's not a social requirement to wear shoes, but it's kind of socially encouraged. right?
Yeah.
If we socially encourage people to wear gloves
Yeah.
for the next 2 to 3 decades,
They used to
I'm
do
sure
that.
in our lifetime we could see
A resurgence
a
of
resurgence of hand picks,
hand
yeah.
porn.
Hand porn, yeah.
They used to wear gloves in, like, Victorian England and things, right? So maybe the
Yeah,
hand was
I think
sexier
that's
back then.
because there was, like
Just literal shit on the ground
yeah.
and
Totally.
human feces to wade through to get to your breakfast or whatever.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they didn't really have, like, soap or things yet.
Sanitation.
Yeah.
See, that's why we have to be grateful, man. First of all, you're DJing for a living, something that I always wanted to be able to do. It's crazy. Like, even when I was in New York, I could never pull it off. Like, I mean, I was DJing. Don't get me wrong. I
Yeah.
was doing a lot of DJing, but it never paid the bills.
Yeah,
Like,
well, totally. I mean, at this point, like, if I was just DJing, it wouldn't work. It's really, like, since I took on all the talent management stuff and I'm doing all
yeah,
that behind the scenes shit, like,
yeah.
that's really
That's your
what's
job.
making it sustainable, you
Yeah,
know what I mean? And even, like, when I still DJ and do stuff, it's like I, like, tell people it's like I DJ for free, I get paid to travel.
that makes sense.
The traveling sucks.
Yeah.
Um,
You don't like being away from home?
I like being away from home, but it just sucks where it's like, sometimes, like, there's been situations where it's like, oh, like, because we do multiple parties. Sometimes we can get a venue for an entire weekend. So it's like one night. So
Mm.
it's like you got to go to like the last one I did was in Huntington, West Virginia, which is only like like a 4.5 5 hour drive at the Loud.
Only.
Really cool. But we were there Friday, Saturday. We do a new metal party.
Oh, cool.
So we did new metal on Friday, and I did Taylor the next night,
Yeah.
and that was super sick because you're driving to one city. I leave my gear there overnight. I just have to swap out the visuals and the backdrops and all that stuff. But when you're doing that shit where it's like I got 3 nights in a row in 3 different cities, sometimes you're driving, sometimes I'm flying. I've like flown between different cities.
Wow. Yeah, I guess that's the controller. That's the power of the controller
Yeah,
and
but
not having to carry around records.
it's still like a fucking nightmare where it's like, oh, you're in a club till 2:30 and you got to be on a flight at 7 so you can get to the next city on time. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've been
not fun.
watching Bonix do it as Wiz Khalifa's DJ for the last, 15 years.
Yeah.
It definitely looks like it's
It's also hard too because a lot of the time you're by yourself, like I am. You know what I mean? Like we don't have like big crews or
mm,
anything so it's like there's nobody. You know what I mean? It's just like isolating. It can be like my last year was like super fucking isolating. It was weird.
mm,
It was fun for a bit. It was cool. Like when like everything first took off. Like I had just got out of like a very long term relationship,
yeah.
and then like a couple months later, I was able to leave my job that I had been working at for almost 10 years, and I'm just like on the road DJing. A new free man, new
Congrats, man.
job,
Yeah, it's
doing all this
incredible.
stuff, super cool.
Yeah.
But 4 months later, it was just like, fuck, man, what am I doing? Like, it
Oh,
just
that's
felt crazy.
interesting.
I mean, financially, everything was good, and I ended up, meeting a new person, and
Yeah.
there was like a little a gray area there where it was like, what, this is like absolute chaos.
I never feel like that. I love being alone so much. I miss it so bad. Like, now when I'm away, I miss my kids, like, a
Yeah,
lot, um, whenever I'm away from them, but, like, dude, when I was when I was single, I loved being by myself.
yeah.
That was
I
the
mean,
best.
like being like, there's a lot of stuff about like traveling alone that is sick. It just sucks when you have to do so much of it, and it's like you don't really even get to like see anything.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And it's just like I don't. You're like getting up super early to get into these places, and it's also kind of weird too when you're like DJing these really big shows, and like I'm the only person there. It's like everybody in the room has somebody to talk to but me,
Whoa.
and I'm the DJ. It's like, okay, everybody's going about their business, having fun, and I'm just going back to the hotel
Yeah.
by myself to sleep for like 3 or 4 hours so I could get up and get on the next plane to do it again.
Sure, you could have found some company if you wanted.
Not really. That's not really my style, but I guess you're not wrong either.
The, yeah, I mean, I think DJing can be very lonely, and definitely there's a lot of people who've talked about it, like DJ AM, he's like he dealt with a lot of, like, depression and loneliness related to just, like, the same shit, like traveling and feeling like you're always kind of on your own. Um, but Dude, that's what you chose.
Totally.
You said bands are done. You said the
Well,
band is RIP bands.
no, I didn't say that. I never said that. I never said bands are done. Bands are not done. It's just a different world. It's just a different thing. I think that uh, it's interesting. Being, I mean, being an independent band has always been really hard. Um, it's so prohibitively expensive to really try to get to the next level if you're trying to do the independent band thing. You know what I mean? Like trying to like market your own thing. The DJing thing is a little bit easier because like it is our thing, but like we're just promoting themes of things that exist already culturally in the zeitgeist, whether it is like a Taylor Swift night or a country party or a new metal party. Like these are cultures that already exist.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but when you're like trying to like this is my own art, like putting the time and money into that to get people to even see it. It's really
Yeah.
hard. It's super duper hard and like especially if like you're not interested in like again like basically doing what we're doing with DJing but with a band. Like you could easily be like, "Oh, we're a band," and then just copy another band. I mean, plenty of people do that. Like
That's what everybody in Pittsburgh does. Fucking
sure,
cover bands,
sure, you could
right?
do cover bands or like basically like it's not
Badfish,
it's not a cover band, but
Stairway
it may
to
as well be a cover band where it's
Zeppelin,
like you have like some other rock bands that are like they're playing original music, but it sounds exactly like another
Greta
band.
Van Fleet.
It looks exactly like another band. Sure, there you go. Like that kind of a thing. Um and like I don't know, it works. I think that there's, all everything being said, I think Grey Walker's actually done pretty well um with all of the odds against us of being like, old older guys, late 30s, heavy metal from Pittsburgh, PA. Not a lot in our favor there. We're also not like the best looking group of guys, you know what I mean? Not that you need to be in heavy metal, but um
You could get jacked, dude.
yeah, that would help. But
The
we've actually done pretty well, and I think that like the reason why we've done well is just because it's like we take what we do seriously, we're cool, and we're good performers. But it's a slow grind. You know what I mean? Because we're not able to do this full time. You know what I mean? We play the shows that we can. We
yeah.
rehearse when we can, but it's a lot. It's just a slow fucking build, man. It's really hard, and you got to be at it like all the fucking time. You have to constantly be putting yourself out there again, opening doors that
Takes a
maybe
lot.
you don't want to open, and like it makes it harder
Close
too when
those.
you're dealing with like it's one thing for me, you know what I mean? Like I'm in a fortunate position where it's like I have a little bit of extra money, I have a little bit of extra time. I don't have like a family or kid, anything like that. So I could fuck off. So I could do my own sort of thing and make this DJing thing work.
Yeah.
Or like maybe, if I can put some more time into promoting my solo stuff, I could probably make that work too.
That's what I wanna see you do.
Um
If I had my druthers,
yeah,
that's what you would do.
totally.
You'd be
Totally.
working on the solo shit because when you incorporate the female voice and all of these samples that you used to use, these weird samples, the
Yeah.
weird song structures, the back and forth between your voice and the feminine voice, not just on the choruses,
Oh
but in
yeah.
the middle of verses, like that shit to me was brilliant. That's what
Well,
I want to hear more
we
of.
we have a whole new record that we're going to be recording soon.
Cool.
So the one thing that was really cool too was like, you know, I pretty much just like worked like traveling a ton and working on like doing the DJ stuff. Now I'm in a position where it's like I'm not going to be traveling as much and I'm going to be doing a little bit more like behind the scenes work,
Yeah.
but I have this nice cushion now where I'm going to like invest in getting this new album done. We just put on a really cool show with Normal Creatures for Halloween weekend.
Yeah. Because you have
So
the Halloween song.
yeah, well we
You
actually did
basically invented Halloween,
we but yeah, we didn't play that song ironically
fuck,
enough, but,
which is a great song.
thank you. But, you know, investing more time into that, getting together later tonight with the Grey Walker guys. We've been writing a bunch of stuff. We'll be practicing again tomorrow. We just played a show the weekend after, Normal Creatures did. So it's like starting to do like more of my shit
Yeah.
again.
Yeah,
And there's a
yeah.
lot more like on the horizon, a lot of like writing and recording and prepping and
Cool. Cool. I'm glad to hear that. I mean, it
yeah,
sounds
it
like
just takes time.
yeah, it there was a certain, like, cost, like, startup fee associated with the talent management thing, and now once you've invested enough time, it's kind of, like, rolling on its own. You still have
Totally.
to do a certain amount of work to keep it in motion,
Yeah.
but it's at least moving,
Yeah.
and now it's, like, everything's already set up. You have the formula in place for those 3, 4 parties, whatever, nu metal, Taylor, MySpace,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, well, yeah, so the
And
MySpace night
Ken.
actually isn't attached to,
Oh, it's separate.
TSN, that's, like,
Cool.
my own thing,
Cool,
but
cool.
we still do that every month. Um, and, we have, there's a couple parties that we haven't, like, publicly announced yet that we're gonna be, like, launching in 2024.
Yeah.
And we also just started Sapphic Factory, which is like a feb heavy like LGBTQ focused like ladies indie rock type thing that I'm obviously not DJing
Right, right, right.
or anything like that, but I am, behind the scenes managing that and the
Cool,
talent for that.
cool.
We just did our first one in Burlington, Vermont.
Yeah.
It's like, but we're doing one at Spirit next weekend,
Dig it,
actually.
dig it.
Yeah.
I hope
So,
Rojo or Femi or Honey or Icy Pisces or one of them are rocking. Do you know any of them?
uh-uh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Are
in
they
touch with my
local DJs?
local female DJs that
Yeah,
I
we
fuck
have
with.
a yeah,
Although
we
Rojo is not, I mean, female, but he's, like, very effeminate, like,
totally, totally. Yeah,
and
we have
plays like that.
so we have one of our DJs is a Philly-based DJ. Her name's Jules. She's going to be coming to do this one.
Cool.
But I know that like, it's like we're always trying to like source different just talent and people that make sense for the events.
Awesome.
But
Miss what is it? Miss Trio? I think Miss Trio might be the other one. There's a bunch. There's a lot of good ones. Femi's been here for over a decade
yeah,
rocking.
so I'm familiar. I've heard that name.
Yeah.
It's funny because like it's the one thing was like after like between like uh I feel really disconnected from a lot of what's going on in Pittsburgh because I mean COVID kind of like threw everything
Yeah.
like that was like a reset button. And then once we started getting out of the pandemic and we were able to do shows, that's when my DJing stuff picked up. So I've been on the road on and off so much,
Yeah.
it's just made it so hard to pay attention to even my own shit because, like, when I was, like, traveling every weekend, it's just like, you know, if I have a show if I'm doing, like, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it's like, I gotta leave Wednesday. I might come back Sunday, sometimes I don't come back until Monday,
Oof.
and then
That's the whole week,
I'm
man.
home Tuesday, Wednesday, and then it's back again, and
Back
that's
on the
pretty
road.
much what I did for,
Wow.
like, almost a year straight.
It's amazing, man.
Um, Chaos. Absolute chaos. But
Sounds
it
fun.
worked
I
out. I
would have
mean,
loved it.
it was a lot of work. I'm stoked on it. But yeah, to be able to like just be back in the city. That's also why I didn't do the podcast for so long. 'Cause I couldn't.
You were busy.
Yeah,
That's cool, man. Yeah.
and I didn't want to do it remote. That's there's no fun in that.
Oh, no.
I did.
You're talking about your podcast, not why
Yeah.
you were ducking me.
No, no,
This
no,
is
no.
why you were ducking yourself.
Yes, why I was stuck in myself. But I know also we had a couple reschedules too because of different things like me not being
Yeah.
here and stuff like I'm still I mean, it should be said that I still am like traveling a good bit for shows. Like I'm still probably out like 1 or 2 weekends a month, but that's not anything like it was.
If you love if you so the talent management thing is working so well, but your heart is in rock music, I feel. Why not combine the 2 where instead you're putting on shows all over the country where it's people with musical instruments?
Well, there's that's not an impossible thing to do. Um, you know, pretty much if I was going to do anything, it's like I want to be on stage doing my own thing. Like I don't really particularly like this is going to sound meaner than I mean it to. I don't particularly like helping other people achieve their goals. Like I kind of want to achieve my own.
I love that.
Um but I mean with that being said, it's
The
like
capitalist dream,
I
man.
still host a podcast and like put people on and do what I can. But it was like, for for 10 years I worked for Get Hip Records where I was like, doing like production management stuff. I was doing screen printing stuff. I was even just doing like warehouse, like packing records up type stuff. I mean, like when you work for a small business, you do everything.
Yeah,
But there was the type of thing where it's like, I'm tired of being here, like helping other people achieve their goals when mine, like I'm not doing anything for myself.
totally.
Um, you know, so I could see like, down the road, I'm kind of like my goal would be like, okay, this is working, this makes sense for me and what I'm doing. If there are other opportunities that open up where I could do stuff that is more focused on like promoting more bands versus DJs, cool. Maybe I would take it. I don't know. Right now, I don't see that opportunity happening. But if you would have asked me 2 years ago if I'd be doing any of this, I would have said, no, that seems ridiculous.
What?
So
Yeah.
it's really just like being open to ideas and just kind of like going with the waves as they come, you know?
What makes somebody a good fit for one of your, I don't know what you call them, one of your DJs that you send off on to play these shows? What skills should they have to be successful?
For me, the most important thing is like understanding of the culture, depending on like what the event is.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Because everything is so niche. You know what I mean? It's like you can't send somebody out to do a new metal night that didn't grow up listening to System of a Down.
totally.
I mean, you could try, but they're not going to do a good job.
Yep.
And it's just like, and then like when you're doing like the Taylor Swift stuff, it's like if you need to like understand the culture of this music and why certain songs are important. Because like the interesting thing about the Taylor Swift night is like there's a good chunk of the night is like she has like a lot of like slower songs that are like that have like an emotional power that aren't really dance songs.
Mhm.
And like me on the surface when I started doing this event, it's like I knew the music but I didn't know the culture.
Mm.
And like there's so many songs so I was like I would never think to play this at a dance night. But people, you need to hear them. You will be crucified if you don't play these
What
songs.
are they?
So stuff like Champagne Problems would be a good one, or August would be another one where these are like they're vibe songs.
Ballads.
The ballad could be a word for it too. But you like these are songs that you like those are must plays,
Huh.
and like and then there's other things too where like I've had, you know, several nights where it's like, I probably don't have to play Shake It Off.
Don't play Shake It Off?
I mean, I never have not played it, but I have talked to people after shows where it's like, would you have cared if I didn't play Shake It Off? And most people were like, "No."
Right, right, because it's, like, very surface
Like
level pop.
there's like
She
an
gets deep, like, she gets you in your soul, like, she hits you in your emotional brain,
yeah, I
like,
mean,
in
and
your
I even think that like I'm
amygdala.
noticing that like even stuff like anti-hero and things like that. Like I think like people that are coming out to our events, they're not like you can't really play a wrong song
Mm.
at the night, but I think there are some songs
What
where
about
it's
Lana
like,
Del Rey?
"Huh?
Lana Del Rey, that might be wrong.
Sure. You can't play a wrong Taylor Swift song at the
Got it,
Taylor Swift night."
got it.
But with that being said, I do tend to find that it's like people really like when you play like the right deep cuts.
Mm.
And also like every market is different. It's funny like if you're a little bit more south, like they might like to hear some of the older country stuff more
Cool.
than
Yeah,
the pop stuff.
yeah,
Whereas like, Buffalo, New York and Nashville are two very different markets. And I've
that's
done
so
both of
cool.
those markets.
Yeah.
And like there's some stuff where it's like people don't want to hear any of the early shit at all. I mean, they'll play it, they'll dance around to it, but you could tell that like they want you to play like anything that's like Reputation or Lover era, like newer Taylor Swift stuff.
Fucking eras, man, look
I
at
could
you talking eras right now.
I could get into it.
Woo!
I mean, it is my job.
Mikey loves this shit too. He's, like, big into it with his girl. Um, I don't know. I find her, I don't wanna say the word talentless because obviously she has talent, but I think she can't pick beats, she can't rap, there's no punchlines. I mean, I'm very hip hop centric. Like,
Sure.
for me, she can't play any does she play some instruments? She plays, like,
Yeah.
guitar, piano, like,
Yeah.
whatever. She has a voice, but, like, and I guess she writes some songs, which is good. That's
Oh
good.
yeah.
But, like, comparing her to Lana to me, fuck out of here. I'd rather there were I would take 100,000 Taylor Swifts for one Lana Del Rey.
I mean, I don't know if I agree with you, but that's okay.
Yeah, everybody can have their opinion, right?
Yeah,
And, like, there's a reason that that everybody goes to the show. Like, there's a reason. Like, she's obviously very popular. And and when I listen to the music, I can tell, I think, why. Like, it feels emotional. Like, it reminds me of old exes that I had and, like, all these old breakups and shit, and, like, I'm almost tempted to go there. I'm like, "Should I go? Should I go? I don't wanna go there." And, like, I don't allow myself.
I think that the thing
I don't wanna
with
feel it.
I think the thing with Taylor Swift's music is that it's very meticulously crafted to be inoffensive.
Mm, that might be what I hate about it.
Whereas like Lana Del Rey is in a very different boat.
Yes.
I think that but I think there's a lot more of a risk for uh Taylor Swift to express her individuality versus Lana Del Rey because there's a lot more on the line if Taylor Swift strays versus if Lana Del Rey
A
strays.
lot more money, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yes.
a big business.
If
She is a
you
big business.
I think the thing that was interesting, the thing that's really interesting about Taylor Swift
The
is that
first billion-dollar tour, right?
I
I think
don't
so. I
I
think she
mean,
had the first billion-dollar
I wouldn't
tour
be
in
surprised.
history.
If you listen to I think that like the songwriter that she wants to be exists on like if you listen to uh the Folklore album,
Yeah.
I think that that's like what she actually wants to be doing.
Dude, Sikes is gonna make me a Swiftie. I'm so stoked right now, man,
Um
because my wife loves this shit.
yeah.
So this is gonna be
I mean
good. Thank you.
this is just my assumption.
Folklore.
I
I'll
don't
check it out.
know what I can't speak for an artist.
Yeah, but I
But my
trust you.
assumption just based on like I I, I mean she played more songs off of Folklore and Evermore than any other songs from any other album on the tour. And that's like the slow shit. And it took
Mm,
up the biggest chunk of that show,
right.
right? So like that is one thing that makes me like feel that like and I also think that like the songwriting is like a lot more structured and interesting than anything that came on Midnight's, which was like her most recent like commercial album.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's very much like the difference between like the actor that does like a Hollywood blockbuster, like Adam Driver being in Star Wars and also doing like indie films, right?
Sure.
I feel like the passion lies in the indie films, but also knowing like, well, Star Wars is going to help. And maybe there's a world where like Folklore is her indie film and Midnight's is like, well, this is the blockbuster. This is what allows me to do the stuff that I want to do, really. Not saying that, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
because I feel like everything on that record, I mean, it's undeniably like her music, but it doesn't feel like it has the same punch in the same way that the stuff that on Folklore does. Or even like she released like different versions of the album with like bonus tracks.
Okay. Like a
Even
little
like
Kanye-esque.
sure, and even like the bonus
Who
tracks, like
made her career, by the way? Just saying.
there's a song on one of the midnights. I think it's on the 3 a.m. one. I can't remember, but it's called "Would've, Could've, Should've," and like that song sounds nothing like anything on the Midnight's record. It actually sounds more like something that could have been on one of those other records. It's a
Cool.
lot more stripped down and just like singer songwritery. But I don't know.
I mean, I love country music, man. Like, I'll give it another listen. I'm looking forward to checking out that album you told me to. So,
Yeah, I mean,
um,
I think that there's something
I
that's a
do
little
love
like
country.
there's something a little like mega churchy about the production
Yeah,
that I'm not like
maybe that's what I hate.
crazy about,
Yeah,
but like it is
like
still
a little
like
Mumford and Sons
yeah,
esque.
yeah, like that kind of like a little bit.
Hey, little Lumineers.
There's no like
Ho.
hey hoes, but it kind of has that like really big like that really big like bombastic but minimal percussion, and
Yeah,
like all the crazy reverb layers and stuff. Like
yeah.
it sounds really pretty and the songs are good, but I mean that's just kind of like a modern production thing that you're gonna I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah. I need the mistakes. Like last night, I was at Cool Keith, and he was rhyming over backtracks when he played his songs. But 50% of the show was just him rapping, freestyling over beats. which was by far the best part of the performance. I mean, he can really freestyle, and it's really fun to watch because you never know what's going to happen next. And he goes for 10 minutes at a time, like 10, 15 minutes. He'll just rap, and it's amazing. But then he goes into one of his songs, and it's like, yeah, like I get it. That's how he has to pay the bills. That's what a lot of the people that are there came to see, I guess.
Sure.
But there's something about that spontaneity. Like I need that. I need that, that jazz. I want to like see people fuck up every once in a while. It's kind of like that jackass thing, right? Like that you were talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Like let's go back to seeing people wipe out.
Yeah, I think that I've had interesting conversations with people that, um, for example, like I've had somebody tell me that they don't like to go to see live music because it doesn't sound as good as it does on record.
Huh.
Um, and there are other people like me where it's like a lot of like modern heavy metal stuff. I don't even like listening to the recordings because it's so sterilized. Everything is sound replaced, quantized. I mean, basically, like a large chunk of modern heavy metal now, they're like electronic albums.
Yeah.
They're playing the guitars
Yeah.
directly into computers. They're using plugins to create all the sounds. I mean, and it sounds objectively cool.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but it's like it's missing something. And it's like I want to see that live, but I don't want to listen to it,
Yeah. Oh,
And
cool. So you want to hear it perfect if they can do it live.
they don't even have to do it perfect live. It's just for me it makes more sense.
Mm.
Because like I hate when I like listen to something, and maybe this is just part of my brain because I understand the process of how are recorded. It's like when I listen to a rock song in my head, I want to like close my eyes and visualize a group of people performing.
Mm.
I don't want to visualize a couple people sitting behind a computer,
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think
like
panning can help?
fixing, huh?
Like, do you think panning can help? Like, if you segregate into the right and left channels,
Oh no,
like different instruments?
it's not even like a stereo mix thing. It's just like you could tell sometimes that like everything has just been like digitally manipulated to be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. The
And it's like
quantization.
and it's just not
Command U in Ableton.
sure.
You're
It's
done.
just it's not I don't find it particularly interesting to listen to.
Absolutely. That's the whole thesis of the Dilla book, um, which was called Dilla Time by Dan Charnas. It's basically, talking about how James Brown and African music kind of built this whole empire of this staccato feel that we all want. Like we don't want anything on the beat. It sounds like shit. We need it to swing. That's where the MPC came in. Like that's why the MPC has the swing feature and created hip hop. Right? It was like once you had that, then you could have a hip hop culture. Before that, it was just a march. Nothing.
Totally.
Nothing. There's nothing soulful about a march.
Yeah.
That's just a march towards the demise of our species.
I mean, I think that it's just like it's it's hard because like there's some stuff where it's like it's okay for sometimes for things to be like quantized. Like if I'm listening to like a dance track or an electronic track, whatever, you know what I mean? Or like even like maybe go into like something that's still rock adjacent, like an industrial track. You know
Mm,
what I mean? Like I could deal with that being like sounding mechanical because like the nature of the genre is it's supposed to sound kind of mechanical and it's cool. But when I'm listening to like a rock song, like I don't want it to sound like
mhm.
machines all the time. I want it to sound like humans. But I don't know. It's there's no like right answer that or right method that could be applied to every single genre of music or every single song. I think that's like something that's really cool about music is that like everything has like it's they're all snowflakes and we can every be individual, right? It just bothers me that now, like with the quantizing and things like that, where it's like everything now, like there could have been some individuality in it, but now we're like using computers to make everything look the same.
Yeah.
It's like the equivalent of like every plastic surgeon making every person look like a Jenner.
Yeah,
It's like,
everybody has the same nose.
why do we all wanna look the same? Why do we all wanna sound the same?
Yeah,
What happened to, like, there's no, like, individuality or weirdness or uniqueness, and sometimes that uniqueness comes down to, like, how somebody plays an instrument. Like, if you go to, like, Eddie Van Halen, right? Because, like, the way that he held a guitar and played it was different than anybody else. You know what I mean? And it was like just a microphone to a guitar cabinet, and it gave him his voice. And there's probably other guitar players now, while they may not be an Eddie Van Halen, but everybody has their own unique voice. The way they hit a drum, the way that they do their cadence on a flow or something like that. But if we just put everything into fucking Ableton and quantize it to the same grid, you're losing all of that individual feel.
yeah.
And now everything just sounds the same. Everything feels the same. It's just like I don't know.
We need that personality.
I think it's important. I think it's really important.
Yeah. Yeah, amen. So cool, man. One thing I definitely wanted to ask you about was, like, the rock venues, because you get into that with a lot of your guests about, like, where people are playing music in Pittsburgh right now.
Sure.
So, I wanted to pick your brain on that.
In what way?
What are the rock venues right now?
Okay, so um probably Mr. Smalls is still kicking, and they have the theater space, and they also have the funhouse space that's
Yep.
on the second floor.
Yeah, I saw Atmosphere that or not too long ago. They
Um
improved the sound too. They
yeah,
put, like, a bunch of dampening on the ceiling, and it sounds great.
yeah, it's great room. Also uh out in New Kensington, there's Preserving. They have 3 venues in there. It's inside an old church. It's mostly rock and hardcore and punk that's happening there, but that's where Normal Creatures just played the other weekend.
Cool.
Really cool.
Preserving, it's called?
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
It's a really, really cool space. There's also, like, a record store in there, like,
Hmm,
probably, like, the best record selection for, like, modern rock and punk and things like that.
hmm.
If you're into, like, alternative music,
Yeah,
he has a ton of crazy shit out there. It's worth a trip.
nice.
Um, so shout outs to that spot. Um, for, like, smaller scale things, um, we played Grey Walker. We played at the Bridge recently
Yep.
over in East Liberty.
Yeah, I've been going to a couple shows there, some cool
And it was
stuff.
cool. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, it's a decent small capacity room. They have a good sound system in there. You know,
Great part of town, like, it's
yeah,
right in the center of the East End in East Liberty, like, awesome spot.
yeah. So
And
that,
right near Mixtape too, which has been, like, more of electronic music.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's like right off Penn Avenue. So that's cool. You know, there's And I don't know, maybe off the top of my head, that's about it. If you go out towards another small scale place, would be like out in Greensburg, the Green Beacon Gallery.
Mm,
They're doing a lot more like small artsy type stuff, but they have like electronic shows, punk shows, acoustic, noise, like everything out there. But that's like very like much more on like a DIY scale. Um
that's the type of shit I wanna know about, like, that was the one where I saw, I think Joe's band was in maybe Garfield in, like, a basement of an unmarked, like, building.
okay, yeah.
They just had, like, beers in somebody's fridge. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the
So
type of places I wanna know about.
yeah, I mean, I know that stuff is definitely happening. I kind of um told myself that there was a time a few years ago. It was more than a few years ago now at this point. But we played a house show, and it was in Oakland, and college kids, everybody having a good time. A lot of underage kids drinking, you know. I'm old. I'm like, this probably just isn't where I need to be anymore.
No.
I'm glad that this exists. It needs to exist for that culture, but I'm just not a part of this anymore. You
Right.
know what I mean? I'm in
Right.
my 30s. Let's not hang out with 19-year-olds in basements and play shows anymore.
I think that's about right. Yeah. Yeah.
But those places do exist. I've intentionally removed myself from it. But yeah, I'm trying to think of like other.
The one in Oakland that I know of was called, like, the Black Elk Lodge or
I
something.
don't even know about that.
Yeah, they've been doing electronic shows. My buddy, there's a kid in CBT who hit me up for DJ advice at some point. Noah Schrader
Have you been?
went and
Oh,
saw him
there's
play.
for another metal punk spot up in Allentown, there's the Shred Shed,
Ooh, cool.
which
Okay.
is like it's kind of like in the basement of one of the buildings over there, but they actually like have like a really good sound system and a stage in there.
Yeah.
It's a cool little like another like DIY adjacent spot. And I know also up there there's a place that just started doing shows, I think this past summer, called Little Giant,
Okay.
I think is the name of it. And it's like right up the street from Shred Shed, which is like right around the corner from where Black Forge Coffee was. Now it's Grim Wizard.
Whoa. Okay. Grim
Uh,
Wizard. Shout
Grim
out Grim Wizard.
Grim Wizard, yes. Really good cold brew in the Allentown area if you find yourself up there. So yeah, I mean shows are happening there. I haven't been to anything at Little Giant yet. And
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if that's the fucking name. I could be misremembering it.
We'll
It's
figure it
something
out.
like
Yeah,
that.
we'll get the notes of
But
it.
Shred Shed is cool. Um, yeah, there's like
Rock Room?
Rock Room is doing shows.
Yep.
I haven't been to a show there in a very long time.
Moose?
The Moose is doing shows too, but I haven't been there since before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like South Side has changed a lot.
I don't think that I could, in good faith, um, book and promote a show encouraging people to go to the South Side anymore.
My buddy got shot DJing in the South Side. He was packing up his turntables at 2:30 in the morning, and he won't tell me the venue he was leaving, but, like, yeah, dude, he, like, was in the ICU for a week.
Yeah, I can't, in good
He coulda
faith,
died.
encourage anybody to go to an event down there.
I talked
Unfortunately,
to Kahari
unfortunately,
Mosley, the, city councilman-elect. He just won. He was running unopposed last night. He was in your chair last week, whatever. I released the episode today, which whatever, whenever people hear this,
yeah.
it'll be a week ago or
Uh huh.
whatever.
Yeah.
But, I asked him why people are, like, shooting each other in Pittsburgh, and I don't know, it's kinda like a complicated answer, but he said something about, like, we need to collaborate with more, like, schools, and maybe we need more role models in the home, something like that.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I think the human condition is too selfish. I don't think that it particularly matters. Like people that want to live a particular lifestyle, and that lifestyle is not new. You know, uh, whatever kind of lifestyle you want to attribute it to, whether
Yeah,
it's just being a ding dong or maybe being gang affiliated
yeah,
or being just somebody with a short temper and access to weapons.
yeah,
I don't know. You know what I mean? But that's nothing new. And people like that are always going to navigate in different areas. Why South Side got so bad over the past couple years, I really don't know. But it sucks too because like I have friends that own businesses down there, people that work down there,
yeah.
and like I hate saying that I can't encourage people to go down there to do shows because you still have Club Cafe down there that still does shows, and that's a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
little room.
Yeah, yeah,
And
I
like,
remember doing
the Moose was
storytellers there,
always
which
great
was
to
killer.
us. And like I know that the Rex closed, but now it's like Enclave.
Yeah. I
Um,
saw Real Deal used to come to our shows at Smiling Moose. I remember you were probably on
yeah,
stage, and then I was playing with Basic, and then Real Deal would be in the crowd. I'm still trying to get him to come. It'll be tough. But I'm still not quite ready. Like, I need to really do a lot of battle rap history to kinda, like,
sure,
to be ready for that one.
sure.
That one takes months to prepare for.
Yeah, I mean, like, but there's places down there to do shows.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like
Absolutely.
again, it just sucks because it's like those businesses down there that are hanging on need good clientele to come back to keep them open.
Yeah.
But it's just like not fucking safe to tell people to go down there.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
sucks. Because when we were talking about like different rooms to try to do some DJ events, it's like Enclave's a room that's like built for like EDM DJ stuff. They have all those sick LED walls in there and stuff. It
Yeah.
would look great. But I can't in good faith invite 1,000 people out to the South Side.
In fact, the schools like Pitt, Carnegie Mellon, Duquesne sent out emails at some point during the pandemic or shortly after advising them not to go to the South Side, that it was
Sure.
no longer safe. This is something that one of the DJs I've had on the podcast, but I won't name them because they told me this off the record, informed them about in regard to one of the spots they used to DJ becoming empty. Like, basically, it was all college kids, and then they literally got an email saying it's not safe to go to the South Side anymore. and then no more
It's
college kids
fucking
came.
crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you do.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do
I
because
mean, I think
it's
you hire a lot of police, I mean, is kind of what I would say, number 1.
sure,
Like,
but it doesn't make it any more inviting.
well, you could also pedestrianize
Well,
Carson, so you could get rid of all cars on Carson, which would be interesting. Um, I don't know how you'd do that though. There's no, like, parallel street
well,
that goes the
I
opposite
know.
direction.
I mean, I haven't been down there in so fucking long, but I know that like after a certain time, that's pretty early. You can't park on Carson anymore.
Oh, interesting.
And they've like made. I know that for a while they were like doing like weird like one way traffic, like
Mhm.
doing different traffic
That's what I would
things.
do, yeah. I would
Um,
do Jane. Is it Jane that's parallel?
Jane is one of those streets.
Yeah. You could do Jane one way and Carson the other or something
I
like
think
that.
they were doing something like that. But I mean, like, this was a couple years ago. This was actually before, because like it was starting to get bad before COVID.
Mm.
And I remember being down there because I think I had a show either at Club Cafe or at the Smiling Moose, and I was just like standing outside of the venue. I think it had to have been the Moose because I'm thinking now where I was. I was standing outside the Moose, just like on my phone or something, and like there was like a couple cops
Yeah.
that were standing by, just watching, and they were basically like talking about looking forward to getting into a fight that night,
Terrible, man.
and like it's not surprising
I mean, that's what
because
I
I
used
mean
to
like that's
hear
the type of thing is
the
like they
bros talking about when they would be walking from Jack's
so like
to
that kind of mentality doesn't help things either.
Mass Bar or
If
whatever.
like instead of like if a situation is starting to escalate, instead of having
That's a good point.
I'm not saying that every single police officer
That's a
has
good
that
point.
mentality,
Yeah, yeah.
but if there's one group that is looking for that escalation instead of de-escalating,
Yep.
that's not going to help anything.
Nope.
And that's just pretty much, I mean, like you get a lot of people with, nefarious intentions, and you mix in a little bit of alcohol and whatever else they happen to bring with them.
Yeah, a lot of alcohol.
But yeah, it's just like, dude, I don't know. And it's the other thing too, where it's just like I know I bring up like getting old a lot.
Yeah, you do. You're really fixated on it. Is it because your body's breaking down on you?
No, I think it's just like
Can't reach around to wipe your back off? What was it?
no, I think it's just like how long.
Wash your butt.
It's like I feel like a lot of these conversations, it's like the same conversations I've been having for like 15 years, in a lot of ways, where it's just like do I just like why do like do I? It's like do I need to even deal with this anymore? Part of
Right.
me doesn't want to, but if I want to continue to work in the entertainment industry, I guess I need to be aware of it. It's
Oh,
just exhausting to some degree.
yeah, yeah. Aware of security issues
Yeah,
in various places in Pittsburgh. Yeah, yeah. I mean, downtown, south side, So it's a cycle. It'll change, I think. Um, but as long as there's poverty, there's going to be crime.
totally.
And you know, there's a lot of poverty. S-
I think the other thing too, this was an interesting, like speaking of poverty and just like how expensive it has gotten to maintain a place. I think that like a couple decades ago, like even just trying to name places where we can play shows right now, the number has gotten so small because of how expensive it is just to run a business. A
mm,
couple decades ago, I'm sure it was still expensive, but it was a little bit easier. And there was just more places for people to go.
mm.
And like the bad intention people kind of had their little scummy holes where they could hang out. But all those places have closed. The only places that are open now are like the bigger places that
Yeah,
have enough of a financial footprint to stay
yeah, yeah,
open.
yeah.
But now all of those people don't have like the small bar in McKees Rocks or something to go to anymore.
Yep.
So it's like everybody's got to go to Southside because it's the only place where there's even something open.
Yeah. So COVID definitely did a number on it. That's fair. That's very fair. I think COVID and the government response, like,
Sure.
shut it down.
Sure. I mean, that's the thing is like I don't think you can get rid of people with bad intentions,
Mm.
but you can put them into places that are more isolated for people with bad intentions. But those places just don't exist because they can't afford to stay open anymore. So I guess we need to fund. It's a dive bar.
It's a
Rehab.
trap. It's a literal trap.
We need to do the
One
dive.
way door. criminals come
The
in,
dive bar rehabilitation program where we just open up shitty places for all of these idiots that wanna fight each other
but it's a
to just
government
go to.
front. Yeah, it's a government front. I was thinking about that. I was thinking about, like, there's probably some element. I'm not, like, a full-blown conspiracy theorist, but I think it would be hard to seriously consider the idea that not a single percent of the discord, unrest, violence, the crime in America is the result of foreign governments intending it to happen. We actually all really could get along, but there's powerful forces trying to divide us, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Perhaps. I don't know. I don't really think about things that deep.
I was thinking hard. Yesterday, I had some deep thoughts at the Cool Keith show. So why don't you? Yeah, he gets weird, man. Tell the people where they can find you and how they can get involved if they want to support you and support the movement and go listen to Taylor Swift songs at the Taylor party.
Well, the easiest thing that you could do, if you're interested in any of this ding dongery that I'm up to, you can follow me online. I'm on pretty much every social media platform with the exception of TikTok at Brian Sikes Howe. That's Brian with an I. That's Sikes with an I. Howe with an E. Um, you can go to briansykeshow.com, which is my website. There's like a bunch of links to all that stuff, but the easiest thing is just like Instagram or Facebook me or something like that. If you like heavy metal, I got a pretty cool band called Greywalker. If you like rap rock, I have a pretty cool band called Normal Creatures. If you just like weirdo hip hop, I make solo music. If you like going out and dancing with friends, I have a variety of dance parties that I do in and outside of Pittsburgh. Maybe one of them is your flavor. Um, and yeah, other than that, uh, you know, be kind to the people around you. Be
Amen to
good to
that.
yourself too. That's advice that I need to take. I'm not so good to myself sometimes. I'm a little mean. I
We'll
need to
get
stop being so worried about getting old.
Yeah, no, we'll get you back on track, man. We'll have you feeling like a 30-year-old in no time.
Mm, appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you, bro. Let's get a
Dude,
picture.
thank you so much, man. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do it.
that was fun.
Cool. Hell yeah.